Welcome into the Dad Verb Podcast, where we chat about parenting from the lens of a dad. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined by my co-host Ben.
What's up?
How's your week been, man?
It's been good, actually, surprisingly. Although we do, I think, admittedly have to skip another week in saying that the family is not sick. So we're fingers crossed it's allergies, but my son came home with a cough and sneezing and no fever or anything, but he does not sound great, and we're supposed to go visit family this weekend. So
always during events, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here to break the streak as well because I am sick. My whole family is sick. We all have colds right now. I'm not feeling good. I'm on the Dayquil grind, and I've got so much work I need to get done. So I need to caffeinate somehow after we're done here. So dude, I've been sick since Saturday, man. I just have not. I don't know. Like, it felt like Saturday was bad. Sunday on Easter, I was like, oh, this is a quick little cold. And then yesterday was bad, and like today, it felt like it got worse. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, you're probably just in that. You're just getting just kind of beat up from being sick, and then it's just you never get any sleep, and you're trying to work, and you're stressed out, and it's just gonna make it worse and worse and worse until eventually your body kicks it out.
There it is, man. That's how it be. So I just been just doing all the vitamins, taking zinc and C and D and all the stuff. So yeah, it's funny because like when the kids come home with it, because they're the ones who bring it home. Like, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
It's from the kids. This is
100%.
This is a fact. So they come home there, and it's like, oh, I have my throat kind of hurts, and you like dismissive of it, but it's like it's inevitable, man. When it hits you, it like hits you hard. For some reason, it like doesn't affect the kids as hard as us as adults.
Because they're like tiny furnaces. That's why they can survive on like 5 chicken nuggets and a pack of fruit snacks, and they're perfectly fine.
Freaking a Cheez-It, a raspberry, and they're good to go for like 18 hours. Yeah, man. So I'm not feeling good, but we're gonna try to do this podcast. Like, dude, this is just dad life, man. This is just parent life. You're just constantly sick. Can you hear my kid in the background screaming? My daughter.
It sounds like she's having a good time.
Yeah. Oh, so it's clear.
Is she mad about something, or is she excited?
I don't know.
Excited scream?
She's also sick. So, but she's also maybe like hungry, and my wife's not going fast, and I don't know. It's like the baby's just so freaking demanding. So normally we record in the evenings, but today we're recording midday, which is new for us. It's kind of different, but it's just what kind of works best for our schedules at the moment. I've got very busy weeks with just activities and muscling through the sicknesses. Obviously, the Mario movie takes precedent here in a little bit, so we're gonna be diving in on that. It's gonna be fun. But
I've heard good
Ben,
things so far.
Yeah, Ben, what are you doing right now? Well, you got some electrical work going on?
Yeah, so we are hot and heavy in the middle of a massive like home project. So we bought a house in April of 2020. It was our third house. We'd never really kind of invested anything long term in any of the houses because we always knew we're going to move in 2 to 4 years.
Yeah,
and we've always really wanted like just a super nice backyard setup. So that's what we're doing. We decided, with the rise in equity in all of our homes, that it was the good time to invest in making the yard what we wanted. Because we live in a planned neighborhood, but we have a fairly large piece of property that backs up to like this kind of retention pond. So we have a really, really big yard.
it's gorgeous.
So yeah, we built this like 18 by 60 patio. Like it's huge. It's basically the whole back of the house is patio at this point. And there's like space for a fire pit. There's the electrical work today is actually going in for the hot tub that we're putting in. And then we bought this or had installed an outdoor kitchen, and then this thing it's a company called Zenko that does these like motorized louvered pergolas. So it's like a metal pergola attached to the house. So like it opens and closes and has lights on it. And, you put ceiling fans and heaters and stuff out there. So
That's
really
a lot of
the
work,
idea
man.
being, yeah. So it's like we basically have another outdoor room that we can hang out in.
I'm assuming you're financing all this, right? This is
yeah. I'm
Okay.
not coming up with 90 grand just like out of pocket.
Yeah. So is it actually 90?
Yeah, we're probably gonna end up somewhere around there, like 80 to 90,000 ish.
Gotcha. What's the financing? Does that get rolled into like escrow and stuff, or is that just like is
No,
that a separate thing?
it depends on how you do it. So there's several ways you can finance things like that. So
Yeah.
there's like home equity loans, which you're kind of pulling out like on a fixed rate. So that generally just rolls into your mortgage, or there's something like a HELOC, which is essentially it's a home equity line of credit, which is like a credit card that's based on the equity within your house.
Gotcha.
So for us, we try to stay under like a certain percentage that we're spending, because we were approved for like way more than we actually needed, just because of the way the housing market is. But we want to be reasonable with that, right, and make sure we can still maintain the lifestyle we want. And
Right.
with 2 kids in daycare, that's incredibly expensive too. So trying to keep that under control, but also have a space that we really enjoy, that we can, have people. We love entertaining, having people over. So that's exactly why we decided to invest in it, since, we're not planning on going anywhere for the next 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, we've been trying to get some quotes for turf. We've wanted a turf, just turf in our backyard for a while, as well as a nice little patio set up for, fire pit and all that.
Yeah.
Quotes that we've been getting are, somewhere in the range of like 20 to 30K.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh man, but we've
expensive.
kind of instilled like a strict budget, recently, and it's been nice. I would almost say like life changing, like just how we've been able to stick on a budget. I'm like, okay, something like this could be attainable, but we got to look at the financing, how that works and stuff. But turf for us is just perfect for our kids and all that. We eventually want to get a nice trampoline out there.
Well, do you guys have any pets?
No pets. No
pets, no dogs or anything. So would you like AstroTurf the whole backyard?
I don't know the difference between AstroTurf or the turf that we've been quoted for, if that's all different.
Okay. Is it artificial grass?
Yes, artificial grass.
Okay, 100%. So then you never have to cut it or
never. Yeah, they would have to like
once it's in.
Yes. Yeah, they would have to like move the sprinklers and stuff like that, because we never need to water it. It would act as like a natural French drain, because we have like kind of draining issues. So that would kind of solve that problem there as well. They'd have to grade the yard because it's kind of a slope. So they would grade it, probably put in like a stone wall to the back where like this fence is. So it's a lot of work, but it's something that we've been eyeing and wanting to do for a while. So hey guys, you tuning in right now? This is dad talk right here, man. We're talking about financing stuff, financing,
yard work.
Yeah, but that's something, at least for us, because like I am deathly allergic to grass, which is so stupid. Oh yeah, I'm an outdoors person.
Any kind of grass?
Like almost every time I went to an allergist, and they do like this test, right, where they like prick your back with all sorts of different things, like almond and cat and dog and grass and juniper or whatever. And to the grasses, I had like severe reactions, to the point where this doctor, who's been practicing for 25 years, said that you are the most grass allergic patient I have ever seen in my life, in all my years practicing. I was like, wow, bro. So because I was like getting tested for like these allergy shots that would be like a 5-year regimen. It was like this weird, it's crazy. But anyway, the point is, I love the outdoors. I love rolling in the grass with my kids and all that stuff, but I pay the price for it. Like I come back, my face is puffy, like I hive out. It's not fun. So turf in the backyard is good. And my kids have my genetics. So early on, we can see. It
happens to them too.
Yeah. They, the allergies not only affect us like on our skin and make us hive out, but it also affects us from a breathing perspective. I am asthmatic, like allergy induced asthma. So if I start rolling around, like I can feel like my chest start to like it just feels really tight, and I have a hard time breathing. There's inflammation in my chest. Like I feel right now when I have a cold. I also like feel that same, as like I can't breathe. It's hard.
That's super tough. So like you're essentially like allergic to nature.
Yeah,
but you love being outside.
Oh, 100%. Like I don't stop myself. I'm out there. I'm like rolling in the grass. I'm doing hikes. I remember the first time I ever met my brother-in-law. We were out in Park City, and I went on like a 3, 4, 5 mile run in the mountains, and it was in the middle of spring. It was like April, in the spring, April, May, in Park City, Utah, and I'm running around, and I come back, and it was until like later in the evening where like, I was basically just running in just pollen and allergens, and my whole like just demeanor shifted. My whole body basically shut down because I was just breathing in all nature, and it was just so bad. It's particularly bad in the spring. Summertime, it is what it is, but yeah, dude. And I'm allergic to dogs too, and cats, which is why we're never really gonna have pets. We can get a hypoallergenic dog.
You can never have pets. You have to get a hypoallergenic dog. So you need to get like what is it? I think golden doodles or something, or
golden doodles. Yeah, like any sort of poodle mix, Maltese, Bichon. Those, I don't know. They're. But if I were to get a dog, I'd still want something sort of big. So I don't know, like
I can't do tiny dogs. I just
I don't like them either.
There's something about it. I don't know if it's like all the attitude packed in the tiny package, or it may also be like just every time I see somebody with a tiny dog, the tiny dog is always terrible and has no boundaries.
Yeah, they're very yippy.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is, because we run into this. We live in a fairly large community. There's like 270 houses. We have a lot of neighbors, and everybody pretty much has dogs. You see a lot of like Maltese and these little kind of, not to be pejorative, I guess, but these little kind of foo-foo dogs.
Yeah.
And we had a pit bull who passed a few months ago, and we have 120-pound Lab Dane pit mix.
Oh, there you go.
Big baby. Has a really scary bark, but he is super good, very well trained. I can walk him off leash if I want to. And it's always these little yappy dogs that are like on the extendable leashes that are, running at your dog, trying to fight.
Yeah.
I'm just like, and all I have to do is look at my dog and be like, all right, we're just going to keep walking. And he just ignores them. But it's like, you see these people with the little dogs and they're like crossing the street afraid of your dog. And I'm like, but your dog is the issue.
Yeah.
Like, it's not my dog that's the problem.
Short man syndrome. They got all like, wait, that's funny.
We're a big dog family for sure.
Any of those dogs lick me, I have to wash off the saliva within the first couple minutes, or else I will start to hive out. Which is
no.
And don't get me wrong, I like dogs. It's not that I don't like animals. I like dogs. I like cats. I want to I wish I could have a Siberian Husky. I don't know why. I've always been into Siberian Huskies. I think they're just a really cool looking dog, and I've always just wanted to nuzzle up and just hang out and just and it's use them as a pillow. I love it. Yeah. I love dogs. Unfortunately, I will have you seen Hitch, the movie Hitch?
Yes.
Where he has the allergic reaction to shell. Literally,
his face gets all puffy.
Literally me.
No.
If I start hanging out with dogs like that, the way I want to hang out with dogs. So, but I can't. I just can't do it.
I feel like I don't want to feel bad for you, but I do feel bad for you, because that's
I feel bad for me.
That's such a tough situation, because owning dogs is such a cool thing. But I mean, I guess again, if you get a hypoallergenic dog, then maybe you guys will all be
make
okay.
something work. Yeah, exactly. So
as long as they don't track any grass in the house.
Well, yeah. Well, guess what? We're gonna have turf in the backyard, so there's no worry. No, you don't have to track in mud or grass. We'll be all right. So,
there you go.
But
perfect.
Sorry, I'm having an alarm go off on my watch here. It's my workout alarm that I'm just gonna skip today, because I'm just not feeling it, man. Not feeling it.
Yeah, so. Give yourself a little rest for sure.
Oh, gosh. Well, so today we wanted to answer a couple questions that popped in our Discord here, and just kind of elaborate on some things, because some things aren't just easily answered with a quick little message on Discord. Sometimes, you want to expound on it with a little bit of a verbal podcast that we can dive into for about 45 minutes. No, we're not going to go that hard. But we'll dive in and answer a couple questions. But this episode's actually kind of fun. It's more just a shoot the breeze kind of an episode where we're just catching up and stuff. But let's dive into this first one that came in. It was from Andrew1247. Very AOL name.
Very AOL.
We've got a lot of Andrews in the group, by the way. So he says, my daughter is half Mexican, half white. How do you guys teach about your culture and your wife's to your child? I'm also trying to teach my daughter Spanish. I've been successful. Have you been successful teaching your kids another language? So I guess I'll go first. So, a little bit about me. I'm Puerto Rican and Chinese, right? So, I should have asked you, man. I should have asked you.
Hey,
what do I look like?
Interesting mix, though.
Yeah. If you were to guess, had I not told you that, what would you have guessed?
I would have thought some sort of some kind of Filipino,
right?
Some sort of Southeast Asian, some with some Spanish influence, somewhere that has there were some conquerors involved somewhere, some colonizers involved.
Conquistadors. Well, it's funny because
seriously.
that's what Filipino, that's what the Philippines is. It's Spanish, invaders coming into an Asian country, territory. But yeah, well, and that's basically what I am, Puerto Rican Chinese. So I mean, you were kind of on the money. And it's funny because my dad grew up in the Philippines. So
really?
even though he's Chinese, but yeah, so I come from a very diverse background. I grew up eating, stuff that my mom cooked, arroz con habichuela, chuleta, mofongo, just delicious Puerto Rican foods. But then, on my Asian side, I had, a ton of like lumpia and just a ton of just fun, non-traditional foods. And I love that.
Yeah.
And for me, when I'm trying to teach culture, for me, the best way that I like to do it, this is just my personal experience, is through food. I feel like when I travel, I like to understand where I'm going through what I taste in the cuisine of the place that I'm going. And that's, for me, the way I like to teach culture and experience culture. And that's what I've been trying to do with my kids. Do we get to do it often? Not as much because they're so freaking picky. But it's that's the way I like to do it. Now, my wife is, she's white, and I would say she is a little bit more averse to different flavors and all that stuff. So that's where the challenge comes in, because already
it's the palate.
Yeah, exactly. They're already like, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle. That's it. It's funny because our kids are like chip away. That's how my son used to say dibba dibba day when he was very little.
Dibba dibba day. He was looking for Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, that's how he would say Chick-fil-A. But now they, just a couple days ago, they're like, hey, we're going to go get dibba day or chip away. What is that? Is that Chipotle or Chick-fil-A? Because it sounds the same.
It's identical.
The point is, that's kind of where their palate lies at the moment, and trying to break out of that and trying to, give them a taste of what their actual culture is, is kind of fun. But the second half of that question about language, how you've been successful in language, we have a couple books that are, good about like, Spanish learning and all that. Spanish is kind of what we've been targeting down. And honestly, and I think that's just in large part because we're lazy. We're just not good about like speaking it to them. And you want to try to get them exposed to it as much as possible before 5 years old, because at that stage they're just like literally just sponges, and they can just absorb language so fast. And we were just lazy about it. And if there's probably one major regret as like a parent, I mean, there are a lot of things I've done wrong and I'm learning and stuff like that. But the one thing that I wish I would have done earlier is get them in on Spanish a little bit earlier through just raw speaking to them in Spanish and just exposing them and really insisting that my mom and my dad like speak in their native tongue around them, and teach them more.
Yeah, that real kind of immersion and exposure, I think, is super important for kids, even if even if they don't necessarily speak it at home. So that was one of the things, like when our son started daycare, there were two of the women that were in his child room were Hispanic. I think one was from Guatemala and the other one was from Mexico. And they would speak to each other in Spanish. So if they were giving directions or talking to each other about a kid, they would speak to each other in Spanish. And so we asked them, we're like, hey, do you mind, when you're speaking with our son, do you mind speaking to him in Spanish? We don't speak Spanish at home, but we believe in trying to get him exposed to other languages, other cultures, other just sounds and intonations that he's not going to hear normally. And it seemed I think that's one of the things that has kind of helped his language skills. Like, he picks up language really, really quickly. He picks up pronunciations really fast. And I think it's helped him in a lot of other ways other than, just learning Spanish, because again, we don't speak it at home. It's not something either of us are fluent in. But just having that exposure, I think is helpful just to develop their brains, if nothing else.
When I grew up, I had a lot of instances where, and I think a lot of Asian kids grew up with this too, or just like any, if you're not white, what was it called? It's like when you bring a lunch to the room and there's like an actual phrase for it. I don't recall what it was, but you're basically being bullied about what food you're bringing to school, which is so sad.
It's different than everybody else's.
Exactly. It's so,
Right.
and I got that a lot, right? My dad would pack these little, I don't know, like chow shou bao, like these little buns that are basically like pork buns.
Like sticky bun. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like these like white buns, and they're stuffed with like different things. Sometimes it's beef, pork, whatever. And they're good, they're delicious. But I remember he would pack those in my lunchbox, and I'd be so embarrassed about it. And then kids would like not, they wouldn't be very receptive of it. They'd say it smelled bad, or whatever. And that really stuck with me until I met this kid named Jonathan. He was this Jewish kid, and his mom always packed him like an egg salad sandwich, and he hated it, and it smelled crazy. But what we would do, we would trade. Because he was just like, hey, that looks different. That looks nice. And we became buddies because we had like foods that like kids did not like us. They would just make fun of us.
You bonded over your food exclusion, right?
Right. That was our lunchroom economy right there. So, we would, he'd have my pork bun, and I would have his egg salad sandwich. And, that was, that's how we bonded. Became,
bridging the gap through food.
So because we live in a pretty diverse area right now. I would say a good, part of our neighborhood in our area is Indian as well. So, when I have any sort of food that might smell a little different or anything like that, and my son goes, ew, no, like, I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but now I've started to say, like, listen, if you ever have that reaction, you're going to have to try it. Okay, because you never tried this before, and you're just acting like that. We're not going to do that. And that's not how we react to food and different cultures. Okay, because the last thing I want him to do is for some kid to bring, something that he's never been experienced to before in his school, and for him to be like, ew, that's gross. Because I don't know, for me, like that really bothers me, and I do not want my kids to be like that.
And it's something that stuck with you from being a kid to now. So obviously, it had an impact on how you see the world, how you probably saw yourself and your own culture.
Right, 100%.
How you saw your food, because it's such a like a building block for culture, right? It's expressed through food. Like who we are is expressed through what we eat.
Absolutely, and I was ashamed of it. When I was in elementary school. It wasn't until I was older I was like, I don't care. It's great. And it's like, it's now that I'm an adult and like, well, you haven't tried that, you uncultured swine. Get to open your mouth, put this in there, eat it.
Yeah, now it turns into like pride. It's
exactly
pride of like, this is who we are. This is where we came from. Like, you need to try these things. It's a part
absolutely.
Of who
you haven't had balut? Oh, just because it's weird doesn't. Go try balut. You know what balut is?
Yes, I do. I have not.
It's an unborn duck.
I've not been able to get into that yet.
I will say when you crack the egg,
things, but.
So balut, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically, it's a Filipino delicacy, and it's better than you think. But it was on Fear Factor because it is kind of scary. But it's like this. It's an egg with an unborn duck in it, and when you crack the egg open, you see a duck, and it kind of flops out, and you see the beak, and it's kind of weird. But when you eat it, it tastes like chicken and egg mixed together. It's actually good.
Yeah,
I can see a lot of people being like,
it's one of those things. But like where I grew up in a very small farm town. My grandparents. So for actually, I'm going to ask the same question of you. I think we've had this conversation before, and maybe have had this on the podcast. If you didn't know me, what would you think I was?
I like when I first saw you, I was like, oh, he's half black.
Yep.
That's the first thing that I said.
You know what's funny is I have noticed that people who are a part of non-white cultures typically are better guessers at where other people are from than the folks I've met who, like, all of my friends who are white or were typically raised around mostly white people had a very hard time figuring out what my sort of genetic makeup was. But everybody that I met that was either, black, Filipino, Southeast Asian, Hispanic, they were like, oh no, you're probably like this and this. And they were like, oh yeah, no, you got it. Got it on the first go. Which I think is super interesting.
So, for anyone who's not watching the YouTubes or haven't watched us on YouTube, just to get a picture of what we look like. Yeah.
We are
like he guessed,
brown people.
Yeah, right. So I guess if you were to like corn to me. Like, think of a Filipino person. I guess that's kind of what I look like. So, like, if you were to describe yourself, what are you like? Explain yourself, Ben.
I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle of a lot of things, but yeah, I have fairly full lips, which I pride myself on. I have some,
man.
sort of African American features, which I also
good
pride
look,
myself
man.
on. But yeah, it's like I'm mixed. So like I did my like 23andMe a couple months ago because it was I think it was on sale on Black Friday. I was like, I want to see where I'm from.
Okay.
And it came back, I'm like 60% European and like 40% sub-Saharan African, primarily like Nigerian, Ghanaian. Yeah, so pretty much what I expected.
So, but specifically Nigeria,
cool.
Nigeria and
primarily Nigeria and Ghana.
That's cool, man. Because Africa's a giant continent, so like where in Africa? That's interesting.
Yeah. West Africa is like not a very they don't really narrow it down quite too much when you just say West Africa. Yeah, and then when we got to the European side, it was like French, German, British, and Irish. Which makes sense when I kind of look at my family's history, and we have a lot of records of how they traveled over, and even though my grandmother was adopted, she kind of was able to find out some stuff about her family. But I say all that to get back to this point of when I was growing up, I grew up with people who grew up on incredibly rural farms in northern Maine. Like they were potato farmers in northern Maine. So a lot of their sort of culture, right, was somewhat, European, kind of Scandinavian. So a lot of the things they ate it was sort of don't waste anything, right? So they grew up during the Depression. It was like nobody had any money for food. You used every single part of the animal. So for us eating like, liver and onions, right? Like beef liver and onions was like not in a regular meal. Eating like beef tongue, like a stewed beef tongue or something like that with vegetables. There were always biscuits. There was always some kind of gravy going. There was always some kind of super hearty meal.
Right.
I never realized until I kind of moved out of my hometown that we actually grew up like pretty poor, and that it was those types of meals that they survived on in the 1930s and 40s because that was all they had. And yeah, they didn't have like super nice cuts of beef, and if you kill the chicken, you had to eat every part of it. Wow. And so it was really interesting to I'll never forget when I went to my wife's grandparents' house for the first time. And one of the things we used to eat all the time, I don't know if anybody else out there eats this, it might be a northern Maine thing. But if you have molasses in your cabinet, just like the blackstrap molasses, like the yellow label on it. So that on a plate with either a hot buttered biscuit or like bread and peanut butter, and you just like dip the bread and peanut butter in the molasses. Yeah. A lot of times that's what we had for dessert. And if you look at it, it's like molasses is like a byproduct of making sure it's super cheap. Right. But it's like, it's extra calories, and that's really what you were looking for. And that's what they ate. And you kind of develop a taste for it. And I went to my wife's grandparents' house, and I wanted something sweet. And I remember asking them for like
molasses.
Hey, do you have any molasses? Do you have this? Do you have that? And they were like for baking. And I was like, yes. I'd never had somebody look at me weird because everybody I knew kind of ate it. Right. But yeah, and that was when I started to realize that like some of the foods we ate, even though they were super normal and common where I grew up, were a little bit strange to people who were even from a different part of the same state I grew up in.
Right. Oh, wow. That's so interesting. And some of that food, do you still like miss it? Do you still have it?
So I don't make it because it's things that I never cooked, that I had, and I do miss them sometimes. But what I think it did was, especially like the sort of beef offal, tongues, livers, all that extra stuff, it made me appreciate and really like to explore other cultures' foods in how they cook things like that. So like one of my favorite things in the world to eat is like a really good lengua taco. Like just a beef tongue taco. They're so good. And it's like, if you never told anybody what it was, they would think they were eating pot roast. I mean, it's, a lengua taco with just cilantro, onion. So good. Yeah.
It's when you tell someone and they have to kind of get through the idea of it. So Yeah, that's interesting, and it's
Like eating tripe and stuff like that.
Oh, I
Like
love tripe.
it's surprisingly good, but it looks disgusting.
It looks disgusting, and I could see how a lot of people would have a big difficulty with getting through the texture because it's very gummy.
The texture is tough.
But the thing is, I like gummy textured things like tripe or shrimp or squid or octopus. Like I like that. But I could see a lot of people, like my wife and a majority of people, I feel like would be like, yeah, I just can't get past that texture. So
yeah. And going back to like the European side, if you go to like blood puddings and like haggis and things like that. I was just
about to talk about that. Yeah.
Blood puddings are fantastic.
Yeah.
Or like black pudding. They're so good.
Black pudding, yeah.
You have to get through, a lot of times you have to get through the kind of mealy texture. Yeah, it's blood in a sausage with like oats and all kinds of stuff.
Right. Yeah. So my dad was, we were in England, we were in London a couple years ago, and my dad was like, specifically, he was looking to try some black pudding. And it was funny too, because like, my wife's just like, man, black pudding, really? And I'm like, yeah, and this isn't even an Asian thing, right? This is a white people thing. This is an English, old English, like congealed blood. Like it was a thing to eat like blood sausages, and it's like it's a thing. But going back to diversity and just exposing our kids to the right things, we do have a diverse group of people that are in our community, and if a kid brings some sort of curry dish or something like that to school, because again, we have a lot of people who are Indian, Pakistan. We have quite a few Jamaicans, Korean. If they bring anything like that, the last thing I want my kid to do is to make another kid feel bad because it's different. Okay, because I experienced that. Like Henry, that is not what we do. Okay,
yeah.
You look at it. The food game. That's interesting. That's different. Be curious, be exploratory. Don't be, don't talk down. Don't make them feel other than, because I mean, to be frank, it makes me angry, and I do not want my kids to be that. And if my kids do that at home, they're trying the food, they're trying it.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe that's causing like a bad relationship with food, and that's not a good thing. I don't know. But the main message I'm trying to get across is like, do not make people feel other than because of their culture.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I think it's a huge deal when, food is oftentimes an expression of the deepest values of a culture, right? The way we feed ourselves, what we create, and share through food. I mean, if you really think about the idea of eating, it's very intimate, right? To feed someone. I mean, literally, you are giving them something that they are taking in to sustain themselves, their body, to sustain their life. It's probably really one of the most intimate things you can do for someone is to feed them, because they're saying, what I've created for you is safe and it's, good for you, or it's made with love, it's made with care, it's made with time. And I've put effort into that. And I think that's really important to remember. And as you said, I think it's we've been watching a lot of Ted Lasso lately, but the quote of be curious, not judgmental. It's that idea of like, you should try everything. Like, try it all. It might be gross. The texture might be tough for you, but like, try it out because it may be something that you love. And if you just stick with, meat and potatoes for the rest of your life, like there's so much of the world that you don't get to explore because you're unwilling to try the food, which is oftentimes the first step to understanding their culture.
Right. Exactly. Well, before we dive into the next question that popped in on Discord, just want to thank our sponsors real quick, and that's Newton Baby. Newton Baby's been making sleep solutions, sleep products for babies and now kids since, we've been using them for 4 years now. We've absolutely loved Newton products. Like I mentioned at the top of this video, we've been sick. Last week, my daughter had a blend of teething, cold. She was crying so hard that she was vomiting. It was actually horrific. I hated it. It was but the point is, she threw up all over her Newton mattress, and guess what I did? I took it outside, hosed it down, threw it in the wash, good as new. So, it's great when you're able to, not have just a breathable mattress, but a washable one. And I think this is the only one in the market that's washable. You can hose down the core, wash the actual cover itself, and be good to go. We've really enjoyed Newton, and it's actually literally come in clutch for us. So if you want to check out any products from Newton, we're going to have that linked in the show notes and as well as the description of this video. It's going to be newtonbaby.com. Check out Newton. They've got your family covered from newborn all the way up through the kid stage. So again, thank you to Newton for sponsoring. Oh, just not just the podcast, but for Dad Verb. They've been an awesome partner, and they've been with our family, and I hope they're going to be a part of yours soon. Let's dive into the next question. I think this is kind of a little bit more the comedic side of things. So I might have to dig my mind a little bit and see if I can think of anything. But we have D-Boy HHX1. These AOL names, dude.
They're so good. They're so good.
He goes, gotta say, I'm really enjoying the podcast. Thank you, man. I'm glad you're enjoying the podcast. Anyway, I caught up to all the episodes, but would love to hear any hilarious stories about dumb things you guys have said to your partners. Pregnancy that look back and you say to yourself, what was I thinking saying that to a pregnant lady? Also, how do you guys deal with unsolicited advice from family? And thirdly, any tips on traveling with newborns? Thanks. Okay, so there's a lot of things there. Can you think of anything that you said to your wife that was stupid that you shouldn't have?
I'm sure if you asked her, there's a lot of things I said to her that were stupid, at least in the moment. Yeah, those hormonal changes are rough.
You know what?
Everything you say might be dumb.
It's like bad. It comes in waves, but like it was like really bad at one point. And I'm like, geez, man, she's like mad about everything. I'm just gonna go up and just like play FIFA by myself and just let her just chill and just like I need to stay out of the blast radius.
Yeah, yeah. There were definitely days where you just sort of just tuck in and enjoy the ride and see how it goes. And then there's days where she'll look at you and she'll start crying because she's so happy and thinks you're going to make a great dad. So it's going to vary.
It's going to vary.
But yeah, I think if I said anything really stupid, I probably blocked it out so that I wouldn't accidentally say it again.
I can't think of anything like crazy. The one thing that I did think of was never tell her that like, oh, you look tired today. Cause like you're trying to state a fact. Like are you okay? Like you look a bit tired because and not just pregnant women, but women in general.
Yeah.
Because
don't tell them I look tired.
Because the way my wife will take that is that means I look horrific. I look run down. I look like ugly. I look all these. I'm like, no.
Haggard.
You're just like, yeah, I'm like, that's not what I mean. You still look gorgeous. You're still pretty. You're just like, not yourself, you just look a little tired. But that means a whole different can of worms. So don't ever tell just a woman that she looks tired.
Yeah, don't ever tell her she looks tired.
Because that means way more than you think. Yeah, it's just that was a recipe for disaster. And also like there's that old kind of line like don't ever call a pregnant woman crazy. I guess like don't do like I think that's kind of a thing too. Because there's like, what, you're saying I'm irrational? You're saying that I can't think properly? Or you saying like, no. I'm just saying that like you're just a little crazy right now, you know?
Maybe
like no,
a little bit.
Yeah, like that.
Maybe a little bit, but I get you are cultivating human life. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, just as like two little, and those don't seem like a big deal. Like, oh, you look a little tired, or are you tired? Like, no, I feel great. Why are you saying I'm tired? Like that's a no. And then don't call.
Yep. Stay away from that. Crazy. Just stay away from looks unless you're gonna, compliment her in some way, especially when you get to that third trimester, man, and she's just uncomfortable and everything is swollen and she's just ready to have the baby.
Yeah.
If and when you make it to that point, just shower her with compliments.
Yeah.
How can you help? What can you do to make her life a little bit easier? And your life will in turn be much easier. Yeah, dude, I remember like the one compliment is like, oh, you are glowing right now, you're glowing. But later in the third trimester it's like, babe, you're still you're glowing. At one point she's just like, go F yourself, bro. Go away. Just shut, get away from me up. Don't talk to me. Let's deliver this thing and then we'll be back. I'm like, I'm all right. You're acting a little crazy right now. They're going to love the kid, but it's just like they're just ready to get them out. Oh, man. Yeah. But yeah, nothing. I don't, other than those two things, I don't really have too many other
examples. I think we should do a live podcast real soon where we have guys like chime in and we can read off like things live and just have it just all comedy, just like funny stories that your kids have done, just crazy things. One guy just popped in like, hey, did you see this on Discord? Someone's asking like, hey, how are you guys dealing with like kids just stripping down, getting naked? I'm just like, man, here we go.
Just roll with it, man.
What are
you gonna do? Like, hey, man, we need to put some clothes back on, but you know what? It is what it is. They're going to do what they want.
Oh, man. The second part of D-Boy HHX1, he had 3 questions. Second one was, how do you guys deal with unsolicited family advice? For me, it's just kind of like, all right, and then just ignore it.
Yep.
Because we don't see them.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Basically like, yeah, sure. I just don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to take what you want. I think there's
filter
sort of 2 sides to it, right? Like you're probably going to get advice from people that haven't raised kids in 30 years. And things are very different, and the intention is generally good. It's just the execution may be lacking. So, take it with a grain of salt. If there's something useful in there, take it. If there's not, just say, hey, thanks for telling me, and move on with your life.
Yep.
Don't take it to heart unless it becomes a pattern and maybe becomes a little bit toxic. And then that's a different story. But yeah, just general advice from people. Everybody is going to have something to say about how you're raising your kids and how they would do this or recommend that or whatever. Some of it's really helpful. Some of it's not going to work for you, and that's okay.
Dude, and being a content creator in this niche, like I've seen it all, like so many freaking comments about like what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right, but like you never like see those, you never think about those. But like yeah, just like so many. And at this point, like my kids are happy and healthy, and honestly, your comment is nothing more than a piece of engagement metric for the for the algorithm.
It's the most benign stuff too.
Man,
like I put up that reel a couple weeks ago that was just talking about like dads sharing their emotional, like if they had an emotional struggle, like sharing that and saying like, instead of packing it away, saying like, hey, I'm struggling with X, right? Showing people how to deal with emotions in a healthy way. And it sparked like a debate with someone who was just like very upset that, well, this is dad's got to be the rock of the family and you can't do this, and I don't want to hear him complaining about how he feels. And I was like, okay, man, it's fine. But you would think like we're doing a good thing, we feel, and it always sparks a debate over things that seem like they might be a bit of progress for dads, but I guess that's why we do what we do, right?
I think the harder thing is like it's the inverse. It's not so much like dealing with unsolicited advice. It's like you have a very specific style of parenting, and you want to make sure that like if your parents are watching your kids, that they are abiding by like the way that you parent.
That's
So say for example, like you're practicing safe sleep. There's nothing in the crib with the kids, right? It's empty, and your kid is sleeping over at grandma's house for a night. And they're like, no, they need like a stuffed animal. They need a stuffy. I was like, Mom, that's not safe. Like, don't give them that.
Don't do that.
Or like, don't turn no, our kids are still rear facing. Like, don't just like get a random car seat and just turn them forward facing. Like, we want them to stay rear facing just in case, okay, for as long as possible. And like these may not sound like a big deal, but like, I don't know if that's like something that you are like very adamant about.
Right.
And your parents are just like, no, there's going to be fine. It's that's when it gets
especially
like hard. Like you need to listen to me.
You've done the research, right?
Right.
Like, I think this happens to my wife a lot. It's just like she does a ton of research to figure out like what's the safest thing, what's the best way to do something. And that makes her comfortable with certain situations. And so, I do my best to abide by that. And then we do our best as well to communicate that to whoever's going to be watching our kid. And, saying like, all right, this is kind of how we do things. And so I think the important part there too is like providing that example and saying like, whenever this person is around, we show them exactly what we do. No, we don't do this. Yes, we do this. Having those clear boundaries. And then again, if somebody's willing to respect those boundaries, then yes, you can spend time with the kids unsupervised. If you are not willing to respect those boundaries, then, I think that's another conversation where it's like, maybe they won't be sleeping over until we kind of figure this out.
Right. And then the last question that he had here, and I can't believe we've been running this podcast for about 45 minutes, man. This is crazy how just time always blows by. So last question he had, any tips for traveling with newborns? This is a video that I've done, I think twice on the YouTube channel, just like air travel when it comes to like road travel or road trips. That's something that I would love to, do. I don't know if I can like dive into it right now. But general tips, I would say, plan ahead, and game plan before, like, because I remember the first couple times we traveled, I was just going to roll with it. And it did not, it just like, you really need to like really plot everything out. Like when you get to the airport, this is how we're going to go from car to terminal. And then this is how we're going to like really like think about like the steps. Right. And another follow-up, wear your baby, I would say, like, is the easiest way to get through security and stuff like that.
Way easier to get through security wearing your kid than it is to take them in and out of a stroller.
Yeah, because like when you get through the like a TSA security checkpoint, they're in a car seat, you have to physically take the baby out. If they're asleep, you're gonna have to wake them up, take them out of the car seat, put the car seat through the scanner, get the stroller. They make you go around the metal detector or whatever, and then they like swab it for whatever. So like anyway, the point is like it's like a tedious thing. All that could be avoided if you're just wearing the baby. You could just walk right through.
Because you can wear them right through the metal. Exactly. Like they'll send you through the metal detector. You can wear them right through. I would say if you're going to wear them too, one of the best things to do is make sure that your carrier doesn't have any like metal clips, buckles, anything like that on it. Right. So like I think you and I both, I know at least we have the Ergo Baby Omni 360 Breeze. It's a bit of a mouthful, but
we have that. Like, we also have
I prefer and then we have the Boppy Comfort Fit too, which is one that just like folds up into a little pouch. We love that one because it's just it's like super lightweight. It's kind of a mix between like a sling and a carrier. So it's really soft. It's easy to put on and off, and it's easy to travel with. And that was kind of the big thing. So we keep one in each car, and then that's our like travel carrier for the little one.
Nice. I would wear the baby through the airport. Plan out really every step. The airplane is really tough with toddlers. I feel like flying with a newborn is cake. Maybe I'm oversimplifying. It's actually tough, but like it's pretty straightforward because you just like feed, make sure they sleep. That's the game plan. With older kids, it's just like tablet, watch all of the show. Like, sorry, but I'm not frou-frou. Like I'm not all crunchy.
No, unlimited
all these
screen
activities.
time, unlimited snacks.
Oh,
just
do it all, man.
Do whatever.
Make it so much fun. Just all the sugar, all the gummy snacks, all of the shows, all on a tablet. Like, go for it. Toddler
look out the window.
It's tough because Miss Rachel and Cocomelon's only going to get you so far, and I'm talking like 12 to 18 months, 19, 20, 12 to 24 months. That range. That's a very difficult time because the kids are they're just very active. They're wild.
They're feral.
That's a good way of putting it, man.
They're wild. They have no impulse control.
No.
You love them to death, but they are feral little monsters at times.
And screens, like, they don't have the effect that they would as older kids. So it's like you're mentally be prepared to like not watch that episode of Ted Lasso that you plan to download on your iPad and stuff like that. Like you are playing defense on the flight. If you have a kid that's like 12 to 24 months, like you're just straight up playing defense, and just trying to make sure that you're controlling them.
One thing that we've done that we've found, where it's actually two things. One is we do our best to plan our flights during nap time. So generally around when our son is going to be asleep, we try to at least get a chunk of our flight done, right? So if we have multiple flights, it'll be that way. The second thing that we do is we always bring a couple of brand new toys that he's never seen before.
Oh, that's cool.
So they might be puzzles. They might be something to keep him occupied. Like we found these little magnetic blocks that fit in this little pouch on Amazon for like $10. He loves those things. We take him to restaurants and stuff all the time. But it's find something that they've never done before. Let them open it, unwrap it, whatever, on the plane, so they have something at least new and exciting that they've never seen to distract them for an hour or two.
There are a couple. This would be a really cool TikTok, IG reel type thing. But like, 3 toys that are like really cool for airplane travel that are like screen free, right? There's this thing called monkey string. It's basically like just like strands of string that are coated in wax, and kids like love playing with it. Like they twist it up, they make like different shapes and sculptures. They just they mangle it and they ball it up. It's actually a really fun toy. Sensory toy. I don't know how to categorize it, but it's a real fun thing that kids really get a kick out of. We like use it when we go to church. Airplane flights is really good as well. And there's another thing. It's like an iPad type thing. It's like a drawing thing, but it's not an iPad. Like it's like a black drawing screen, and you draw on it, and it's like multicolored.
And you hit a button and it goes away.
Yeah, and you press one button and it all goes away.
Yes,
and it's really fun.
Those are amazing, and that's not really super expensive. We have 1, 2, 3, maybe. I think we might have 3 of them. There's one in each car, and I think there's one in the house.
Okay.
So I mean,
so
because
you use it.
Again, yeah, I mean they're not super expensive, and your kid gets to sit there and draw for hours and hours and hours, and then they push a little button and the drawing goes away, and it's like magic, and they love it. Yeah, and they do it all over again.
The only time where it gets hard is, at least for us, is when you have these 2 brothers that are siblings, and then Colin presses the button early on Henry's pad, and Henry starts to freak out because he deleted everything that he drew, and then he wants to punch Colin, and Colin's like, "What?" And it's like, so that's when it gets bad.
Yeah.
So
it can go. It's just be prepared for things to go south very quickly and very suddenly, and you'll be okay. And just know that, for every person that doesn't understand or is annoyed by you traveling with a baby, there's a dozen other people who are going to look at you who either have kids or possibly traveling with their kids too, who are going to understand and empathize with what you're going through.
100%.
We had a woman when our son took his first flight, and he was like breastfeeding, and he was kind of kicking this lady next to us. And I was like, "Babe, he's kicking this lady pretty hard. Can we like make sure he doesn't do that?" And she looks over and she's like, "It's perfectly okay." She goes, "I raised twin boys. I understand. Yeah. He's not really doing anything that's annoying to me."
Yeah.
And that was like, it felt so good to hear someone say like, "It's okay. He's fine. Let him eat, and then he's just going to go to sleep anyways."
I've had that a couple times on flights too, where I just feel like it's like the burden is like so heavy. Like, man, these kids, like, they're gonna bug everyone. And then just the passenger next to me is just like, man, they are not bugging people as much as you think that they are. It's all good, man. Don't you worry about it. So just keep that in mind. Like, it's you might think that you're burdening the world. You're not. And sure, there are people who are probably going to be bugged, but like, you're never going to see them again. For the most part, I think that a lot of people are pretty empathetic to that. So
maybe that's the biggest tip. Relax.
Yeah,
as much as you can. Relax. It's most things you think are a big deal, unless you're being, brought to the back room by TSA. Probably not that big of a deal.
Right. It's it'll all work out. It'll be all right. That'll do it, guys. That's the end of this episode 10. Is this number 10? Are we finally?
Yeah, we're at double digits. Yeah,
we
made episode 10.
Dude, it's been fun, man. It's been fun. Hopefully, I can
feel like we should have had the Instagram balloons, like when you hit 100,000 followers. 10 episodes.
Oh man, dude, it's been and on that note, I've been really trying to ramp up like short form content on like Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I hate TikTok. I made one piece of content, I put it on YouTube, got 2,000 views. That same piece of content got put on TikTok. It went to 1.2 million. And I was like,
oh my goodness,
what is that? This is so weird. I don't understand social algorithms. I'm not good at social media anymore. I don't understand my profession. It's so weird. I'm very confused. But we'll see. I'm just going to keep on creating.
I'm right there with you. I'm going to keep pushing those short form videos, and hopefully they help some people. That's the goal, right? Make short form videos that help people figure things out.
You know what would be fun? I get this question a lot. Like, hey, dude, it's been fun to see you make content as a dad. Like, how do you, where can I get started? So like, all right, let's break it down. If you want to be a dad content creator, where can you start? Maybe we can do that episode. Let us know if you guys want to hear that.
It'd be a good one. Behind the scenes.
Basically becomes a social media workshop. But anywho, thank you guys for listening and watching. If you've been watching on YouTube, we appreciate the continued reviews that would be coming in through Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. I got this thing up on Google Podcasts a while back. I forgot to mention that. But thank you guys for listening and watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.